You're going to want to stay out of elevators in Baltimore because we're pulling a Ray Rice and knocking out 2 videos here on a Friday. Stick around. You're not going to want to miss this one. Alright guys, today we're mixing one of America's delicacies with one of the only good things to come out of Philadelphia. Today we're making venison, backstrap, steak, and cheeses. Let's go. Okay guys, so here we are. We got 4 backstrap loins here, and we're just going to pat them dry here. This is my buck from archery season. And venison is one of my favorite things to do. It's one of my favorite things to hunt. These flies love it too. So we're just patting this dry here real quick. And okay, we're going to go in with a little bit of mustard binder. And what this is going to do, this is a video on if you just want to smoke a backstrap, or you can do venison, steak, and cheeses just like we're doing. Venison is a Pennsylvania delicacy. It's a North American delicacy, really. But, man, when it comes fall, that's what we live, eat, and breathe here. Everybody hunts. So we're going in here. And I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm going in with some steak rub. We're making steak and cheeses out of this, so I don't want any sweet flavors in there. Just kind of going in basically like I'm doing a steak. And we'll rub these down. I'm using Killer Hog steak rub. And this is going to make a real nice bark setup on the outside of these. We're not going super crazy and doing 17 different rubs on these. We're staying pretty simple, and we're just going to give it a nice texture on the outside of these. So we're going in and just giving these a nice binder on each side. Trying to get seasoning all over these. Hitting this other side with this steak rub here. You don't have to use a mustard binder. If you just want to olive oil it or just let it stick to its own moisture, it'll work. I think about it too much, so I use mustard almost always on my binders. And we're just going to roll it around in that seasoning. Make sure every inch of this is rubbed down. Now you can see this little piece. We're going to have to pull this little piece off earlier, just because it's going to get warm in the inside of it way quicker than the rest of it's going to. We're just picking up all that loose seasoning off of this cutting board here, making sure we're all covered up. And just like that, they're rubbed. Okay guys, so we have the back straps on the smoker here. We got probes in them. You want to keep an eye on temps with venison, especially back straps. We're not ruining back straps. That's one of the 7 deadliest sins of Western Pennsylvania, and we're not doing it here. We're going for medium rare on these. So we'll check back in around that 120, 125 range. All right, guys, so we got these venison back straps off the Traeger. We're right at 122. Kind of varies between the thicknesses of these back straps, but we're right in that 120 to 125 range. And just to show you what we're looking for here, see if you can see that. You know, we've got a nice pink on the inside, that bark's built up on the outside. So if you're going for just a smoked backstrap, you can do it that way. Obviously, there's a million ways you can get fancier with it, but that right there is sufficient for what we're doing with these, and that would also just make a killer strip of meat. All right, guys, so what we have going on now is we've got our peppers and onions in this cast iron skillet, and we're sauteing them down, getting ready to start putting these steak and cheeses all together. Okay, guys, so now what we're doing, now that these back straps have had time to cool down, we're going to slice these up real nice and thin for these steak and cheeses. In these thin slices like this is what I'm looking for. That's going to be perfect for what we want to do. These are going to fold into that cheese nice. We're going to chop these in half, and that's going to turn out real nice for these sandwiches. You never had steak and cheeses like this. This is going to be beautiful. So I'm just going to go ahead and chop these up, and we'll be back. All right, guys, so we have these back straps all cut up. Now, this is the strips that I'm looking for here. We want thin slices because we're going to lay these down on the bun. We're not mixing this in with the cheese. We're going to go cheese over top. But these are the nice strips that you want. Nice thin slices, almost like steakums. But as for if you're just going to smoke a backstrap tenderloin, this is the color you want. I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I nailed this one. You want that nice pink color. That's a good backstrap. You don't want to overcook backstrap because then you've just majorly sinned. But this is what we're looking for in a smoked tenderloin. That is a great bite of meat. You invite people over, there's nobody that's not going to be impressed with that. Okay, guys, so here we are making our roux. We've got a little bit of butter and we've got a little bit of milk in here. And what we're doing, we don't want a lot of liquid in here. We just want enough to make this cheese not really thick. We want it to just kind of like if you had it on a plate and started to pour it, it would just fall off of the side. So what we're doing here is we're just mixing this cheese in slowly. You got to get it on a low heat. You cannot heat this up quick. It'll curdle and it will not work. So you just want low and slow, and it takes forever. But if you want good food, you got to have patience. So we're just going to slowly incorporate this cheese in. And when you're doing a roux like this, you got to almost have two hands on deck. But if you're slow and patient with it, what I like to do is I like to mix a little handful of cheese in, get it mixed in there well, and then once you start seeing that cheese turn to liquid, then you start adding in a little bit more cheese. So we're just going to mix this in. We're 50-50 pepper jack cheese and Monterey Jack. So that's what I like for a steak and cheese. Use whatever cheese you want if you're a yellow cheese steak guy. I don't like yellow cheeses, but you do you. This is your food. You make it how you want to. I'm just giving you the building blocks. Okay, guys, we've got our cheese all done here. This is what I'm looking for. Now, white cheeses, every cheese is going to melt differently, but this is what I'm looking for. I want a thick but pourable sauce, almost like a steak and cheese that you get from the fair when they go in with a ladle and scoop the cheese out and lay it on your steak and cheese for you. That's what I'm going for. Something that falls off the ladle, but it still hangs out together. I'm not going for super thick or stringy or anything, and I don't want it liquid, so to speak, but we're going for that happy medium there. So that's what you're looking for. Then how I make my garlic butter is I just heat up some butter in a pot, just slow simmer it, mix in some garlic, fresh garlic, jarlic. I'm not going to judge either way. Heat it up, let it simmer for a little bit, get that garlic flavor into the butter, and then I just strain the garlic back out of it, and then I just throw it in the fridge to use later. This I just made, so it's still liquid, but that's all right. It'll work all the same. And we're just going to go right over that bread, spill it everywhere. We're just going to lightly coat this bread on both sides with this garlic butter. Just to dampen it. You don't have to mop it on there or anything. Of course, when it's liquid like this, it'd probably be easier to use a mop. Just make sure you get that whole piece of bread like that. I don't do the top sides. You can if you want to. I'm not a big believer in putting stuff on the top side of a bun, but if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. And then you can do this if you want to. I do. A little bit of nature seasoning, a little bit of Morton's nature seasoning, and I just dust that right on that bread just like that. It gives it a real nice flavor, even though you already have the garlic in that butter. A little bit of pepper in this gives it a nice little pizzazz on that bread, if that's what you want to call it. Word of the day, pizzazz. We're going to throw them right on the smoker at like 275, just until they're crispy. So here we go. All right, guys, so we got our bread done. Let's make a sandwich. So we got all of our venison meat here. We're just going to lay this right on top, right in the middle. Heavy on the meat. And we're doing this fair style. Just layer right over top with the peppers and onions. And then we're going right in here, just like you would go to a fair. Tell me that cheese doesn't look good. It's stringy. That is a steak and cheese, my man. And all right, so you got messy food. It always helps to wrap it up. Even if you're serving it at home, serve that sucker fair style. Get it squeezed in here. I like to put sandwiches in foil to serve to people just because they can be kind of a pain in the ass. And that just helps it hold all together. All right, guys, now tell me that's a sandwich you wouldn't eat. Venison backstrap, steak and cheese, peppers and onions, French bread toasted. It's going to make a frickin' mess, but we're going in fair style. That's a cat's ass. Try this at home. And thanks so much for watching again. This has been a lot of fun, guys. So, one more bite. That'll do.